Okay, this is not a commercial for Alexseal, but it's awesome. We're going to talk about RV paint today real quick. I've had a problem with my old RV paint in that it was 25 years old, something like that, and was peeling and cracking, and I needed to get rid of it. Now the bids I have was somewhere between $10,000 and $14,000 to have it completely repainted, and I didn't have that kind of money. And it's an old RV. Like, I don't need a $14,000 paint job. So I did some research online and found Alexseal. So, or some people pronounce it Alexseal, right there. Now, this stuff is a two-part epoxy made for yachts, made for boats. And I figured if it works on a boat, it should work on a land boat, a land yacht, which is an RV. And they agreed. So the nice thing is this is a roll-on or brush-on product. You do not spray it, because if you're painting at your house like I am, your neighbors will hate you if you paint their houses blue from overspray, from spraying. Don't do that. So I chose this product because it would roll on, it would brush on, it has good gloss, and it's not going to mess with the neighbors. Now, the problems I ran into. First of all, the rep at Alexseal is awesome, but he said you need to get the old paint off. And the reason for that is because I did a special test, and the test is you take a little cotton swab and you dip it in acetone and you put it on the bus, the old paint, and you tape it on and let it sit there for maybe half an hour, an hour, something like that. And after that, go pull it off. If the paint behind it has lifted, you have to remove all of it. Because the way Alexseal works with the chemicals in it, it can lift your old paint off of the fiberglass, and then Alexseal isn't bonded to anything. Like, it's bonded to old paint that's going to come off, and then you've just wasted your whole paint job. So he said you need to get it all off. So I'm like, okay, how? He said, well, you can sand it or sandblast it. I didn't feel like sanding like for 10,000 hours, so I chose the sandblasting route. I chose a wet sandblaster. It's something you can get off of Amazon, and about 100 bags of sand, and I wet sandblasted the entire RV. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, do not do that. Do you see this? I have sand all over the place. Now, granted, we live in Florida, and this whole place is on sand anyway, so it doesn't look any different than it really would, but it was an absolute mess to clean up. Do not sandblast your RV to prep it. I'll give you two options. Number one, just get a rotary sander, like a little palm sander, and put like a 40 grit on it, and then dig into that paint. It'll take it off. It might be 2 or 3 days of sanding, but it was 2 or 3 days of sandblasting anyway. So get it off with a 40 grit. And then go over it again with like a 150 or 200, 180 grit, just to smooth out the rough spots. That is going to be your best way to go. Now, towards the end of my sandblasting, I ran out of sand. And I was so sick of sandblasting, I said, screw it, I'm done. And there are parts of my RV that have old paint on it that I just risked it. And I put this stuff over top of it anyway, and it did not lift. So, it's up to your risk. If you choose to, you can paint your whole RV with this Alexseal stuff, and it might be fine with no prep work. However, that's a risk. So I'll tell you, on my RV, some of it worked. I mean, none of it lifted at all. None of it. Even the stuff that painted over the old paint did not lift. It was completely fine. But I'll show you a little bit what this is. This is a custom color for our logo. And Alexseal will mix any custom color that you want to for no additional charge. I paid about $2,000 in paint and additives and all that stuff, and probably an extra couple $100 worth of rollers and brushes and, you know, tarps and all over kind of stuff. I'm gonna get right up close to it here. From here, you can see it looks really good. If you get super close, do you see right in here? Okay, that's where the sandblaster got too deep. You cannot control a sandblaster super well. So you can see how it's irregular. If you're somebody that wants an absolutely perfect paint job, do not sandblast it and do not paint it yourself. However, if you're like me and you want to look good from 10 feet away, perfect. I still would not sandblast, but use a palm sander. The other thing is when you put this paint on, you're going to see roller marks, but when it sets up fairly glossy. Let me see if I can find a good example. So if you can see this, I mean, that's glossy. Now it is not as good as a spray-on. I can still see some roller marks, but again, it will gloss itself over. That's kind of how it's meant to do. So it'll work great. But yeah, if you're somebody who's got a schoolie and you still want a really good paint job, that would be, Alexseal is an awesome product to use. What else can I tell you about paint here? It's really not that complicated, really. It took me 3 coats. So I did 3 coats of paint. I did 1 coat of primer. I could have gone through and filled all this and made it look perfect, but I'm not working on this thing for weeks at a time. I just want it good enough to look good in front of a school when we pull up. All of my lettering I did not do. The lettering was done at Sarasota Wraps here in Sarasota, Florida. They did an awesome job. It cost about $1,400 or $1,500. And we're going to talk about the DOT stuff in a little bit here. When you're using your RV as a commercial vehicle, oh my goodness. So anyway, that's paint. Use Alexseal, and that's it. Catch you later.